Hi guys, so unless you spend all of your time on YouTube learning how to become a real man from that guy Andrew Tate, you will have discovered that Panasonic has released the S5 II. Now this camera has phase detect autofocus, which a lot of Lumix users have been waiting for. And as you can see, I'm using the GH5 right here and the little G7 over here, my first ever mirrorless camera. This channel was originally all Panasonic cameras, and I love Panasonic. Now they did not send me an S5 II to review. In fact, when I was at Profusion, the big conference here in Canada for cameras, the Panasonic rep basically told me to go to hell. And if you want to hear that story, it is at the end of this video, you know, for the algorithm. And although that lady was super mean to me, I still love their cameras so much. I'm pointing at this Sony, but because that's what's in my hand, because I have a lot of Sony cameras on the channel now. I switched to Sony basically because I'm a YouTuber and I need a lot of autofocus, so that drove me away from the Panasonic, but I still love them. I have always said the S5 was the best value full-frame camera that you can buy as long as you don't need autofocus. But now that you can use the autofocus, seemingly, is it time to switch back? I don't know. Maybe I should ask Andrew Tate. So let's talk about this. Now the S5 II is less than $2,000 and the A7IV is $2,500. The S5 is very, very comparable to the A7 IV specs, except it really beats it in pretty much every way. The R6 as well, except the R6, it does the 4K 60 without a crop, whereas the S5, it does use an APS-C crop for its 4K 60, just like the A7 IV. But the S5 on paper is a better camera, I think, than the A7 IV in terms of you have all those anamorphic modes. Its IBIS, its stabilization is so great, and the usability, the back screen, that lovely back screen that it has, its viewfinder is just as good now as the A7 IV. It's laid out way more like a video camera than the A7 IV. So if you are a hybrid shooter with a video slant, the S5, it is hard to say there is anything even close to the value of an S5 on the market today. I think Gerald Undone said it's the best value camera in history, and who am I to argue with Gerald Undone? Panasonic sends him cameras. Plus, he's a nice guy. I don't want to argue with him. I think he's exactly right. It is the best value camera of all time. I think that this GH5 is still one of the best value cameras of all. I recommend it when people say they want to shoot documentaries, things like that. I'm like, listen, if you can manually focus, then this is as good as it gets. You can get this thing now for like $900 sometimes, depending on the used market. And the lenses like this Sigma 16mm f1.4, that's about $350. So you can get just an excellent setup on this guy, but you have to manually focus. Now with the S5 II, you know, we're talking a full frame camera with that one. This guy's a micro four thirds, but this full frame camera, this S5 II now has phase detect autofocus. Now the autofocus does look pretty good. But I was watching a video by Patrick Tomaso. It was just a great no nonsense video. He's got no time. He will not suffer nonsense. And so he just, they flew him over to Japan. They won't send me a camera, but they fly other people over to Japan. I'm not bitter. It's, well, a little bit. I just want so badly for people to send me cameras so I can talk about them. That is all. Just so, hey, Panasonic, if you're listening, and I know you're not, because you don't watch my videos, just send me a camera. I will send it right back to you. I promise, not a scratch on it. I will just review it. I will probably say really nice things about it. Not because you sent me the camera, just I love them so much. That's what I told I'll talk about the rep story at the end. You got 6K RAW, you have open gate, you have the 10-bit 422 and all kinds of modes. The thing basically, if it had 4K 120 in 10-bit, it would be pretty much a perfect camera. And if the 4K 60 was also full frame, you know, as opposed to the APS-C crop. But what I'm saying is, for less than $2,000, my goodness, it's hard to recommend another camera or another camera system. So then why do I stick with Sony? Well, even though it was just announced today, I am still making the decision right now to stick with Sony, and for lots of reasons. Number one, when I saw the Patrick Tomaso, I didn't get to this story. I forgot. I went on a tangent. But Patrick Tomaso was showing the autofocus, and it wasn't up to the Sony standard. So if you are going to rely on the autofocus, which is the whole reason I went to Sony, then I'm going to stick with Sony until Panasonic gets to that level. And I'll have to do my own test, but from what I saw from Patrick's video, I still think that Panasonic has a ways to go with their face detect autofocus before they get to the Sony. The other reason is that I buy multiple camera bodies and many lenses. I like to do multiple camera shoots if I can, not just here for the YouTubeness, but for documentaries and the comedians I work with. We'll set up several cameras, podcasts, things like that. You want several cameras running. And if I have an S5, then I have to buy other full frame bodies if I want to share lenses between them, whereas with the Sony system here, I can get an A7IV, I can get a little ZV-E10, A6400. You can use the APS-C cameras and the full frame cameras and swap the lenses between them. Nikon does the same thing, and so does Canon now, which is great to be able to share lenses, so you can buy cheaper bodies sometimes when you need extra angles, things like that. And speaking of the lenses, there are just so many more lenses for Sony. I mean, the L-Mount Alliance is doing a great job. They're coming out with really great lenses, but you're going to find a whole lot more lenses for Sony and a whole lot more cheap lenses for Sony as well, like I said, when you need those extra angles and whatnot. However, if you are somebody who's going to buy one camera and you want to get maybe a couple of primes, you get a 35mm and the 24mm, I don't know what you want to get, but if you've decided to get a couple of nice prime lenses, get one body, and you want to be able to take it everywhere and do everything, the S5 is just, it's probably the way to go. Like with the Sony thing is, a lot of the people I work with, they use Sony. You have your FX3, you have your FX6, your FX9. There's so many cameras in the Sony system where people I work with are also switching between. So if I grab an A7IV and I go to a shoot where someone has an FX9, you know, it just makes a lot of sense. With the Panasonic, up here in Canada anyway, there's just not that many people using the ecosystem, so that is just another reason that deters me from going. Hopefully things will change with this S5 II, but it's hard to even get Panasonic lenses in the camera stores up here in Canada. And Canada's like, it's a real country. Despite what lots of people say, we have people, we have some money, some. Let's not forget about shutter angle. Shutter angle is something I absolutely love on cameras, and the Panasonic cameras have it, whereas my Sony cameras don't have that at all. It took me a long time to adjust to not having shutter angle when I picked up the Sony cameras. I started with the A7 III, but no shutter angle on the A7 IV or even the ones they call cinema cameras, like the FX30, which I also have, or the FX3. They just don't have shutter angle for some reason. Sony, please put that in if you're watching this, and I know that you're not. So of course I'm going to try to get these cameras in so that I can test them out for you guys and for my own curiosity, because just right now, to me, it is not time to switch systems, but I certainly would love a chance to check it out for myself, and then maybe I would switch systems, but I don't look like I'm going to get a chance. So what happened is, so I go to Profusion, I go up to the desk, and I talked to everybody there, and I gotta say, everybody was super nice. Canon was really nice, Sony was really nice, Nikon, Blackmagic, everybody was really great. And I go up to Panasonic, and I just tell them the truth. I say, hi, I review cameras on YouTube, and I absolutely love Panasonic cameras. I use them all the time. Is there any chance you guys can lend me some cameras so that I can review them like I do with the other companies? And the lady's like, no. And I was like, so no. And she was like, no. I said, I see in Australia and Germany, Europe and stuff, like they seem to do that for the content creators, but so you don't do that in Canada at all? And she goes, well, we do it once in a while for certain people. And then she just stopped talking. Now, I mean, it's not like she looked me up, and saw my numbers, because I get it. I don't have a huge following, but it's not like she knew that. She didn't Google me at the time. She just looked at me and was like, no, we're not sending you one. And it stung. It really stung. Like, it felt like, you met your favorite baseball player and he was just like, get out of here, punk. I don't like the look at you. Go. And I'm like, I'll still watch your games. I will. I love you. So I'm still on the fence about pre-ordering the S5 II for the channel because I do want to pre-order probably the S5X when that comes out. It's going to be the S5 II with a few more features, and I think that would be great to have in here, and that will still probably cost less than an A7 IV. So tell me down below if the Panasonic camera has you excited, or have you moved past Panasonic cameras, or have you never been interested in them at all? Is it time to switch? Tell me down below what you guys think. And, you know, if Andrew Tate, if you are watching, and I know you are, what should I have said to the Panasonic representative? What would have made me sound like a real man? I bet she would have lent him some cameras. I bet you. So write down below, man. What was I supposed to do? Anyway, thanks for watching this, everybody. We'll talk to you again soon. Okay, bye-bye.